Good day. Today I want to talk to you about the art of photography. Us as photographers always need to put careful consideration into what we actually put in our images and where we put that. So today I want to discuss more about the composition of your image. Now, composition of photography can be defined as positioning of objects in the photo in such a way that is most pleasing to the viewer's eye. There are some guidelines to follow, but it's not always as clear-cut, as there's always exceptions to the rule that even with a little bit of a different composition than the actual rules say, you'd still get a very pleasing image, depending on what you want to do. One of the most important skills that you can learn and practice as a photographer is how to compose your picture well. So now I'm going to discuss a few of these composition rules with you. Some of you might already know these, but it will just serve as a reminder and how to use them. So the first one I'll be looking at is rule of thirds. So as you can see, I've divided this picture up in thirds, horizontally and vertically. Now the rule of thirds basically say that the image will look a lot better if you put your main subject on one of the points of the intersections of the lines when you divide your image in three. Another composition rule to look at is symmetry. As you can see in this image, the person has taken a nice symmetrical image with a building in the background and both sides and even the reflection looks very nice and symmetrical, and it creates a very pleasing image to the eye. Next, we've got foreground interest and depth. Now what this is, for example, if you're taking a landscape image, then you'll have something in the front of the image, in the foreground of interest, that will almost lead into the background and create depth through the image. Then there's also leading lines. Now leading lines is normally a road or a pathway or something that will lead into the image. As you can see here, we've got these pipe lines with a pathway in the middle, leading through the image, leading your eyes towards the background. Patterns and textures can create a very pleasing look to the eye. If you look at this image, you can see lots of lines creating patterns, and also these, it looks like a roof or something, but these little spaces in between creates a very nice effect in the pattern that it's created. Next one is space to move into. When you take action photos, it's always a good idea to leave some space for your subject to move into in your photo. It just creates a bit more of illusion of movement through your photo. Now we get to framing. Now what this is basically using a natural object like this tree with the leaves over here to frame the rest of your photo in the background. Now, the rule of odds basically say that anything looks better in an image if you've got an odd number of things instead of an even number. I've even tried that myself at home and it really works. It always looks better to have an odd number of things in a photo. Now this photo, I'm sure, caught your attention quite quickly, whether you are scared of spiders or not. This technique is called fill the frame, where you make sure your whole subject is filled with in the frame, and it creates a very bold effect. Let's look at some photos and see which composition rules we can pick up from them. So looking at this image here, the first thing that you notice is that your eyes go straight away to her eyes, which is nicely set on the third there with the rule of thirds. Then we can also see it's a very nice close-up to fill the frame with her face, except for a little bit of open space on this side with her hair. So a very nice, very bold image. So what do you think about this image? First of all, what I notice is these beautiful blue eyes that your eyes go straight to. You can see the face of the cat is nicely also on the rule of thirds. So that's your main subject on the intersection of rule of thirds. Then you can see here you've got a little bit of patterns in the scratching post of the cat. And another thing that I've noticed is the depth of field. A very shallow depth of field, which creates a very nice image. When looking at this image, the first thing I notice is this line of trees and with the shadows leading up to the trees. And another thing I notice in this image is a bit of foreground interest here. And then also it almost looks like this image is divided in two bits. You've got the front bit that's clear and nicely in focus, and then you've got the back bit with the house that's a little bit hazy. It creates a bit of an interesting effect. This last image I found very interesting. First of all, there is no rule of thirds. The main subject is right in the middle. But another thing I noticed is that there's lots of lines leading into, straight pointing to the main subject in the middle. There's that one, there's that shadow there, there's these white lines on the road, all leading to the little old lady standing by the robot. So that just creates a totally different effect, and that just shows you one way where they disregarded some of the composition rules to bring a message across. Well, that's the end of my talk about composition. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a little bit of information about it. Please send me a mail if you've got any suggestions, or just leave me a comment below.